Today is 10th of March, Ukraine Media Center, Ukraine Forum, microphone. So today is 10th of March, Ukraine Media Center, Ukraine Forum continues its operation. My name is Vasil Samakvalov, and we start our briefing with the topic of the special event, the launch of the global initiative Save MISHA. We will be talking to Giuli Alasania. She will be joining us online. She's the mother of Mikheil Saakashvili, David Saakashvili, Mikheil Saakashvili's brother, Olena Shuliak, chair of Sluha Narodu political party, Vano Merabishvili, Prime Minister of Georgia, Minister of Internal Affairs back in 2004-2012, and Maria Barabash, head of Mikheil Saakashvili office in 2020-2022. Well, about this initiative, the news related to imprisonment of Mikheil Saakashvili. So we'll start talking with Giuli Alasania. Good morning or good afternoon. Good afternoon. What are the news? Please tell us about this initiative. That's a sad story, obviously, because my son is in prison. He's arrested, and on the 1st October 2021, since his return to Georgia, he was arrested. He had to change a number of prisons within this period. While in prison, he was poisoned. That was identified during his medical examination. There was a test held in Germany and another one in a laboratory in California. There are heavy metals present, arsenic, mercury, and other heavy metals. Besides, according to the latest information, he has 47 diagnoses. First, when he was transferred to military hospital in Gori, he was then transferred back to prison. This is when he had only 5 diagnoses, and now it's 47 different medical conditions. So this is the situation we're having now. A person keeps disappearing every day more and more. He keeps losing weight with the height of 1 meter 94 centimeters. His weight is only 64 kilograms and a little bit more than 64 kilograms. So he keeps losing weight. He's got persistent fever within the last 5 months. So he's weak, he cannot walk, he has trouble taking food, is very selective. He may swallow maybe just a couple of pieces of food. You can perceive it in any way you want, but his condition is quite complicated. He's currently in the hospital, which is under control of the penitentiary system of Georgia, so they're not quite free in their actions. I mean, the doctors, well, they try to the best of their capabilities, but the main thing is to have all those heavy metals out of his organism, but doing it in Georgia in the hospital conditions, it's impossible because there is no relevant expertise, no relevant experience. We were hearing the advice from the invited doctors, our best Georgian doctors, so we need to get him out of that condition, or maybe out of that hospital, to put him in proper hospital and provide him with proper medical care. There is nothing like that going on for the time being. The latest information that I had, a team of Polish doctors was intending to arrive. Everything was prepared, but there are rules in Georgia that those invited doctors should be licensed on a mandatory basis in Georgia. So this is what extends the process. Several days have already passed and the doctors are not still here, so this is the situation we're having. Thank you. It's clear. The next will be David Saakashvili, the brother of Mikheil Saakashvili. So tell us more about this initiative, who takes part in it, who helps, who got involved. What is the final goal of this initiative? Thank you for this invitation. I will tell you in brief about our plans. First of all, with great respect and appreciation, I want to greet the heroic people of Ukraine. Thank you for protecting democracy and freedom for Georgia too. As you know, my brother, the former president of Georgia, the citizen of Ukraine, he is imprisoned imprisoned by Bedzina Ivanishvili, a puppet of Putin. He was poisoned with heavy metals in the same way that Skripal, Litvinenko and Navalny were, just like FSB style poisoning. Just like Giulia said, his health is destroyed. We have counted days to save him. So our friends and family, his political allies, decided to support the global initiative Save MISHA that I'm sure will get a lot of people involved throughout the world. Please visit the website savemisha.org and fill the questionnaire to join the movement. Today we present 10 steps to liberate Mikheil. So those are the steps that in our opinion will be most important and urgent. I also want to state that the leading medical clinic of Ukraine, Dobrovod, is ready to accept Mikheil already today to provide him with proper and necessary medical care. Even they even may do it at their own expense. All of our family appreciate this a lot. Also, I want to thank the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, for the attention and active support of the movement to save MISHA. The man who built a successful country out of the semi-destroyed post-Soviet country, he is punished by the order of Putin. I want to thank Maria Shuliak, Mikhail Radusky, Alexander Kardakov, Maria Barabash, Volodymyr Zhmakov for their great support. I want to extend greatest appreciation to the efforts of Mark Fagin and Alexei Arestovich for organizing the actions in support of our movement in more than 40 countries of the world. We should be numerous to press unprecedentedly on Ivanishvili regime. I invite everybody to join. MISHA should live and be free. I hope he will be visiting Kyiv soon and he will contribute to the bringing closer Ukrainian victory. Thank you for your attention. Olena Shuliak, the chair of the Sluha Narodu political party. Good afternoon. I think all the Ukrainians with bated breath watch the events going on in Tbilisi now. I think that all of us support the friendly Georgian people in their aspiration to build their democratic European future. Ukraine already passed that way and we wish our friends make it too. However, at lower price. Today both Ukrainians and Georgians know that we shouldn't succumb to the threatenings, to intimidation, and to react to humiliation. And what we're seeing in Tbilisi now, all those things demonstrated in color, Recently, Volodymyr Zelensky demonstrated a picture with Mikheil Saakashvili. The photo of Mikheil Saakashvili from the prison. It was seen not only by Ukrainians but by the whole world. And this picture shows the prison, the catastrophically Mikheil Saakashvili, who catastrophically lost weight, very sick person, as David mentioned. Maybe today that the countdown is only a couple of days. Ukrainian parliament addressed all the parliaments of the world recently. We addressed the European Parliament, and then European Parliament approved a relevant resolution. We were addressing Georgian government to have Mikheil Saakashvili liberated promptly and forwarded to any clinic in the world, not only in Ukraine, maybe in the United States, so he continues his treatment there. On the 20th of February, there was a visit of President Biden, the president of USA Biden, to Ukraine, and there was an action of people going out in the streets all around the world, in the squares, to call Georgian authorities to let Mikheil Saakashvili, to get him treated. There was an action near Georgian embassy in Kyiv. However, no one reacted, and I think that in this situation we cannot keep silent, because Ukraine and Georgia are two countries which obviously aspire to the same, to the European future. They want to become the members of the European Union, and the authorities of Georgia should realize it clearly, that with the rules, with the principles that they're having, in fact, nothing will be going on in that direction until they keep torturing, until they keep destroying a person, with a human, with Putin's methods that are used cynically to have that person annihilated. Today, Ukraine is in the front line, and in the rear we're all united with Europe, with the civilized world, and we struggle to have such practices as used by the Georgian authorities, to have such practices eliminated. And we want to address Georgian authorities once again to provide necessary and proper medical care for Mikheil Saakashvili and create conditions to have him transferred to one of the Ukrainians or European or American clinics for his further treatment. Mikheil should survive not only for Ukraine, which appreciates the life of every our citizen, but to preserve all the basic democratic and human values. And today I think that for the Georgian government, the indicator is not the cancellation of the law for foreign agents, but whether Mikheil will be liberated and transferred for further treatment to a clinic. There are historic events going on in Georgia right now, and we extend all our support, and with bated breath we watch the streets of Georgia with Ukrainian flags. And it's pleasant that Ukrainian flags are a symbol in the streets of Georgia, along with the European flags, and we appreciate it, and we would like the Georgian government to hear the voice of their people for the European future of their country. Vano, Merabishvili, please. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to extend appreciation of the words of David. I want to thank the Ukrainian people, Ukrainian government, the President of Ukraine, all the heroes who currently defend the Western civilization against Putin's plague. It's symbolic that Georgia back in its time became first victim of Putin's aggression. And the first aggressive war and occupation initiated by Putin was going on in Georgia, and Mikheil Saakashvili was governing the state back then, he was building democratic European Georgia, which used to be first in reforms in integration to the European space, but now Saakashvili is the personal prisoner of Putin and his ally in Georgia, Bidzina Ivanishvili. And now he is imprisoned, he's staying in where he was arrested, and recently there were active meetings in Georgia against the law on foreign agents, which Ivanishvili was about to adopt with the majority of the Georgian parliament. If a couple of years ago someone was doubting about the pro-Russian orientation of Georgian Dream, his political party, after the 24th of February, when the war started, the Georgian government adopted the clearly pro-Russian policy. And I am ashamed as a Georgian that Georgia does not take part, that Georgia is not an ally of Europe, not the main ally, because Georgia paid a lot for freedom, for European orientation, and now is the time when the destiny of the whole Europe is being resolved here. Georgia in fact ends up as an ally of Russia, and I'm very happy with the reaction of the Ukrainian society to the non-adoption to this Georgian law. And just a couple of hours ago the Georgian parliament was forced together and to cancel this law. This is our big victory. This is our first victory, and we hope that in this victory we will go until the end. I want to ask everybody who is interested in Georgian democracy to help, to support us in saving Mikheil Saakashvili, because he is not only the first president of Georgia who started integrating Georgia into European structure, but he's the symbol of an enemy, and he's the symbol as an enemy of Putin. So saving of Saakashvili is yet another break in restriction of Putin's actions. So I recommend everybody to get signed up on SaveMisha.org website. We work actively with our Western partners, and I'm happy that President Zelensky, he stepped up with the initiative and he actively supports Saakashvili. I appreciate the help of our Polish friends and our other allies, and I ask everybody to save Misha so he is free, he's healthy, and we celebrate together the soon victory that Ukraine will have. And I want to appreciate the support of all the Ukrainians. On the 24th of February, when I found out that the war is about to start, I sat on a plane and I arrived in Ukraine. So I think that I was among one of the first persons who arrived in Ukraine within the first days of war, and I feel Ukraine as the best place to stay. This is the place where the new Europe is being built, new Europe is being established, and I'm telling you, Ukraine will become the center of the new Europe. And once again, I appreciate the invitation. I want to thank you for doing everything you do to save the life of Mikheil Saakashvili. Maria Barabash, please. Thanks everybody. First of all, I want to thank Miss Yulia, Miss Olena Shuliak, David Saakashvili, Vano Merabishvili for their active support and active stance for liberation of Mikheil Saakashvili. We're missing him a lot. Our office, his office, established and effected a number of reforms. Some of them are already in effect. For example, the reform of using natural reserves, labor relations, some anti-corruption reforms in the sphere of construction and development is already voted in the parliament and ways to be signed by the president. Some of the reforms were not voted yet, but were presented by our office and Mikheil, for example, the structural reform and tax reform and customs, including custom clearance of automobiles through DI application. So we miss Mikheil to finish this work. There's still a lot to be done here, and regardless of the fact that we have some results, still we're missing him. And obviously I would like to pronounce those 10 steps that we propose to liberate Mikheil Saakashvili and get him back home. First of all, and I'm deeply convinced, our stance is that international economic sanctions to the members of the Saakashvili list and pro-Russian members of the Georgian government and parliament will have the most effect on the liberation of Mikheil Saakashvili and his return home. The Saakashvili list, just like Magnitsky list, will be announced shortly. We expect the author of the fact and the Magnitsky list American lawyer for this list shortly, and we will be expecting for the international sanctions and Ukrainian sanctions against the members of this list. The second item is today we're launching the petition and we plan to gather 1 million signatures under the petition at the website savemisha.org. We call everybody to join. The third, we want to make additional claims to the European Court of Human Rights. We plan to include the crimes against Mikheil Saakashvili in the agenda of the International Tribunal against Vladimir Putin that was announced recently by Volodymyr Zelensky, and it's one of the steps of the formula of peace of Volodymyr Zelensky. And we will continue working on that. We will continue the organization of regular actions in support of Mikheil Saakashvili in key cities of the USA and Europe, in particular in front of the Georgian embassies. We will involve more support from such organizations as G7, OSCE, Council of Europe, United Nations, plenary session of United Nations on Human Rights, which started its work recently, initiation of media campaigns in the world of mass media. I want to emphasize that our initiative will be aimed at the world mass media because we understand that there is huge support for Mikheil Saakashvili in Ukraine and we appreciate it, and we want the same level of support to be in all over the world. Also, we work and we will continue working. We appreciate the work of Dmitro Lubinets for his address and his official stance as the Commissioner for Human Rights of the Parliament of Ukraine, and we appreciate the aspiration of intention of the clinic of Dobrovit, and we will obtain consent from the world doctors and medical clinics regarding the treatment of Mikheil Saakashvili, and we plan to make a documentary about the poisoning of Mikheil Saakashvili, and I hope his soon liberation. We understand that our plan is quite ambitious and we understand that we are very short on time, but we're not alone in this struggle. We got joined by office of Mikheil in Tbilisi, headed by Georgi Chiladze, political party of Mikheil in Tbilisi, headed by Livan Hamibashvili, and they protect the freedom in the main square of Tbilisi right now. And we understand that the only goal that we have that unites us is liberation of Mikheil Saakashvili. Also, I would like to announce that until 15th of March this year, everybody who is present in Kyiv, we call everybody to become the co-founders of the non-governmental organization Save MISHA. It will be registered in Ukraine through our website savemisha.org. Everybody who wants, please sign up, leave your contacts, and we will get in touch with you. I'm sure that together, united, we will achieve our goal. And we will meet in this marvelous media center with Mikheil, and we will present new proposals for reforming of Ukraine upon our victory, the victory of and the victory of Ukraine. Well, we have questions, and maybe then we will proceed to the question from the floor. How the current situation and protests in Tbilisi in Georgia may influence the process of liberation of Mikheil Saakashvili? To what extent is it a demand, and what's your forecast how these protests would finish? I want to say that for a long time everybody seemed that there is a passive stance of the civil society in Georgia, that Ivanishvili controls all the media, controls the public opinion, and it's impossible for any party to change their opinion, and so on and so forth. But in view of this reaction, you will see that you were witnessing for Georgian society, it's unacceptable for Georgia to become the strictly pro-Russian state, and this law, it concerned some civil organizations, but every Georgian realized that this law declares the joining of Georgia to the Russian orbit, and this protest is the first time when Georgian dream had to succumb to concessions. It's a small victory, but it's a pledge for further success. It's difficult to forecast right now how this situation will evolve, because just recently the parliament already cancelled this law. Many people who were taking part in the protests, they are happy that they achieved some success, but I cannot say that our party and movement, we're getting gathered, we are gathered to continue this struggle, and meanwhile Ukraine and Moldova are becoming the candidates to join the European Union. You know that Georgia was refused that status. You know that Georgia was provided with some period. There is a 12 items resolution of European Union, and we're gathering, we start together to mobilize the public opinion to fulfill those 12 items. And I'm sure that the ministries of Georgian government will concede in this matter, because it's very important to us. You see, 10-15 years ago Georgia was an advanced state in terms of joining European Union. Now it's an outsider in these processes. I'm sure Georgian society would support us. There are mass actions started, and our main goal is the change of government and coming of pro-Ukrainian, pro-Western government into office, because we are allies. We should be together. We should celebrate the victory together. Not only the victory over Russia, but also the victory as the symbolic step of joining the European Union. I'm sure that this spring will be quite interesting in terms of resolution of the processes in Georgia. Well, I have a question to Ms. Olena. Mikheil Saakashvili became a symbol of this dialogue between Ukraine and Georgia. The peoples of Ukraine and Georgia are allies, but the governments, they communicate very weakly. Is there a prerequisite for dialogue? Well, you already kind of answered your question. The friendly Georgian people, they feel the support of Ukrainians, but there is no dialogue with the government. There is a demonstrative example when hundreds of people are at the gate of the embassy, but there is zero reaction to the address of Ukrainian Parliament, European Parliament, which says that unfortunately today Georgian government doesn't hear any calls from either their people or our requirements that we pose in front of the government regarding Mikheil Saakashvili. Questions on the floor, please. I have a question to David Saakashvili. What's your forecast? What are the prospects of Save MISHA movement in Georgia right now? Do you bet? Do you want to press on Ivanishvili? Is it more convenient to do it in Georgia, or maybe you bet on the international pressure? Thank you for this interesting question. The response is the main thing is to consolidate the society. The main thing is to have the European community to form their stance in this regard, and we have to press on the facts and we have to press on the actual leader of Georgia now, Ivanishvili, to allow Mikheil Saakashvili just to get healthy, to recuperate, because we're not talking about any political preferences now. We're talking about saving a human life. And further on, when there is an opportunity, as soon as he gets better, we will find answers to all the questions. So I hope on international community, I hope on the sanctions, I hope on pressure to force our government, our non-formal leaders to respect the life of a human, so that person just doesn't perish, so we don't see this execution live. Once again, his punishment was called by Putin. Another question, Oleg Rozum, Просто Новини, Information Agency. Please tell us what is the condition, the health condition of Mikheil Saakashvili. Are there any tendencies to improvement of his health? Is this health deteriorating, or is he getting better? What's gonna happen next? Well, thank you for your question. As of today, the weight of Mikheil Saakashvili is 65 kilograms. He lost more than 55 kilograms of weight. By all indicators of the doctors, international doctors, there were 14 doctors in total examining him. They came to the conclusion that if his weight falls down to 63 kilograms, he would die. We see today that he keeps losing 1 kilogram within 1 or 2 weeks, so we can say that we don't have a lot of time. I just want to add a fact that maybe a year ago he was absolutely healthy, so he was coming to us, and we see his visualization, we see his vision. He's in bad psychological condition, he is sick. This result because it was the expert opinion, not only Georgian experts but European, American experts, according to his tests, according to his examinations, that he was poisoned because those substances were found in his blood that I already mentioned, that he was poisoned in the same way that opposition leaders of Russia were. So I think that summarizes it all. I think that in our turn we should save his life. I have more one more question from myself. The Saakashvili list that you drew analogy with the Magnitsky list is the efficient, but it's not an easy way. Who should be added to this list, and what is the legal road to have that list voted in the relevant parliaments in the same way it happened to Magnitsky list? So the first name on that list would be Bidzina Ivanishvili. We clearly understand it. More people will be added who were taking part in imprisonment, in deterioration of Saakashvili's health. Those will be the leaders of pro-Russian political parties like Georgian Dream, which is called Russian Dream in Georgia now. Those will be pro-Russian leaders of the parliament, the whole government in office. They are all pro-Russian. We work currently on that list. There is a very extensive group of advocates, lawyers, congressmen in the United States are involved in work over this list. Everybody understands the urgency. Yes, the Magnitsky list has been voted for a very long time, but it had unprecedented effect, and this Magnitsky list is now the example for countering this type of crimes. But we hope that within the next week that list would be announced, and we will start working with every country, including the United States, to have those sanctions in. And also with France, because Bidzina Ivanishvili is the French citizen, and many of his closed ones, of his family, are French citizens. So we will work with the relevant parliaments for the most rapid adoption possible of this list, and in the same way we will work with the with the Ukrainian parliament. We've seen the unprecedented support on part of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. Questions, please? Maybe I will better ask Russian because I see we're having guests from abroad. The Vistnik Народного Судочинства newspaper. I have a question. Could you please tell us with which international civil organizations do you cooperate? Specifically, do you cooperate with International Committee of Red Cross? And what is the role of those public organizations? Do they actually help you? Thank you for your question. I can say that there was a Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International stated they made their independent investigations and they declared their stance already. I didn't personally communicate with the ICRC team, but they are on the list of our plan in these 10 steps to save and free Mikheil Saakashvili. We will talk to any organization, any person who will help us to get Mikheil Saakashvili free. We will communicate with any media. We will do everything that we can. Okay, then yet another question, if you allow me, to our guests from Georgia. I'm interested about their opinion. The liberation of Mikheil Saakashvili from imprisonment in the promptest manner possible. How can it bring closer the moment when the territories of Georgia currently occupied by Russia will be returned to the legal owner? I mean Georgia. Well, first of all, if there is no serious pressing on Ivanishvili, it will be very difficult to get Mikheil Saakashvili free, because he is the personal enemy of those two people, and they know for sure why they keep him in prison, because they understand that his life and health is something that makes their political lives shorter. And I want to cite the reaction to the meetings that were going on in Georgia. What Simonyan said, No one will play with Georgia. We will strike Tbilisi right away. This is the strict message of Russia, their reaction to the meetings in Tbilisi. Well, you remember there were opposition meetings in Tbilisi. Well, they were suppressed. The main thing was the fear of occupation by Russia and our government. The first reaction of Russians that we will bomb Tbilisi. We will capture Tbilisi in 2 days. We will capture Georgia in 2 days. And you know, I'm extremely happy that those participants of the meetings who were in the streets of Tbilisi just a couple of days ago, they understand it clearly, and when they protest, you know, the main PR of our government is, if Saakashvili gets back in office, there is no alternative. So on the same day the war will start, there will be Russian tanks in Tbilisi. So that message keeps working. Because I have to tell you that back in 2008, almost a third of Georgia was occupied by Russia, and every other Georgian was seeing a Russian tank with their own eyes, and the international community, the West, treated that fact not so seriously, just like there was no adequate reaction after occupation of Crimea, and this is why we end up in this terrible big war. And I'm happy that regardless of all those fears, the majority of Georgian society is ready to change this government and become a part of European family, become an ally of our main friend, Ukraine. And without serious pressure on Ivanishvili, it's impossible to set Mikheil Saakashvili free. Okay, thank you very much. Then my last question: how does the attitude of Western countries change to their attitude to this story with Mikheil Saakashvili? Does the support grow or does it fade? How does the stance of the Western parliaments change? Well, the situation changes drastically, and the main thing is it's changing to the best. Well, we have to recognize that in Georgian policy, the most serious is the American society, and there are serious developments, serious advancements, moves forward. The position changes in relation of America, and America's stance in this regard changes. And lately, Georgian government took a clearly anti-American, clearly pro-Russian stance. Until the 24th of February, they were trying to maintain good relations both with Russia and the West. However, until the 24th of February last year, Georgia became clearly pro-Russian. I mean, Georgian government, and I feel that the influence of the West reduces, the pressure on Ivanishvili reduces, because they've chosen their side. And the fact that the Georgian government dared to vote that law is yet another evidence that they pay more attention to Russian initiatives rather than to the Western. And this is why we hope that those moves, that pressing from the streets of Georgia, it will increase the pressure on the government, and it will contribute to the saving of life of Mikheil Saakashvili. Thank you very much. I think we will be wrapping up. We wish Mikheil Saakashvili to be set free the soonest possible. Our next briefing is at 1500. We will talk about China with the experts. See you shortly.